Hello everyone. So I'm making this video to introduce the concept of inside view and outside view. This is a very, very interesting concept. I think I've read it the first time on a book that, if I remember correctly, is called The Bayes Rate, which I invite everyone to read if you have the opportunity. It's very short, but it explains very well this concept. So what is the concept of inside view and outside view? It's the idea that when we make a decision, we can come from multiple perspectives. One is the inside view, and it's more like subjective, it's more based on our subjective experience, on our personal understanding. So it's like we research. This one is more qualitative in nature. So we do a lot of research, we try to understand things, we analyze, we use maybe our gut feeling or specific experience in the sector, and we try to assess what is the likelihood of something to work. So maybe we say, I think this business, this restaurant, let's say we are a chef or we are into the restaurant business, say, yeah, because of the location and of some people have been telling me that there is not many, let's say, Mexican restaurants in that area, and I know that people like Mexican food, and also I've been running restaurant for some time, and I think this is going to be a big hit. So this is the inside view. It's kind of our gut feeling based on our personal experience, our subjective view, kind of qualitative approach. But then we have the outside view. And the outside view is statistically how many restaurants in general succeed. Is it like 10% or is it like 90%? So that's the idea of the Bayes rate. In general, on average, how many restaurants make it? And then how many restaurants in that country that you're planning make it? How many restaurants in that city make it? How many years it takes to make it? On average, is it 1 year, 3 years, 4 years? How many Mexican restaurants make it in general in the world? How many Mexican restaurants make it in that country? How many Mexican restaurants make it in that city? So you start to look at the statistic. Let's make an example, which I think it's really, I think, the perfect example to explain inside view versus outside view. Marriage. So we know that statistically, I mean, depends the country, but on average, the probability of divorce for a given marriage is around 50%. So this is a statistic that means that overall it will converge to 50%. So one marriage in two will lead to a divorce. But every single person, and that's the outside view, that's the statistic. But every single person that gets married, if you ask them what they think is the chance of their marriage working, they will say that it's probably close to 100%. Maybe they will not say 100. Maybe they will say 90 or 80. But no one will get married if they thought that the chance of divorce is 50%. If they truly thought that the chance of their personal marriage to succeed is 50%, they will probably not get married. They get married because they think that in their case, it's much higher than 50%. But then the thing is, as an aggregate, it has to be 50% because that's the statistic. So it's like, if only 10% of restaurants make it, and that's the statistic, it means that as an aggregate, that's what happens to everyone. So the question is, why are you so sure that you will not be part of that 90% that fail with your restaurant? Why are you so sure that your marriage is not going to be on the 50% side that fails, that end up in a divorce? And so this is kind of the balance between inside view and outside view. So usually you have to balance both, because the outside view, ideally the outside view should be the starting point. So the statistic, the baseline should be the starting point. So this is where you start, and you have an idea objectively how it works as an aggregate. So it's like, do most people make it or most people fail? That should be the starting point you want to know. So, and then of course it depends how costly it is. If it's not costly to try, you can try. Let's say that some universities are very difficult to get in, but so let's say 90% gets rejected, so only 10% get in. Yes, but the cost to apply is very low. You probably just have to do a test and you find out if you get accepted or not. So in that case, who cares? It doesn't even matter. You can just try. But opening a restaurant is a big cost. Getting married is a big commitment. So you want to know what is the base rate. And so let's say for marriage, it's in general in the world, but then also based on the country, but maybe based on the age and other factors. And so you can see the difference in the base rate. You can see the outside view. The outside view just means when someone is looking from the outside, what is the probability for you? What is how does it operate as an aggregate? So let's say out of 1 million marriage, 500,000 end up in a divorce, 500,000 do not. And so you know at least that you have a 50% chance, or the restaurant or whatever. And then the inside view is what is you're going to distort the base rate. So I think the best way to use inside view and outside view is always to start with the outside view, which is the baseline. So to say, on average, this happen. And then if you have no specific confidence, you just stick. So if you just stick to the outside view, and that's already good enough because it gives you a representative sample of the average, of the aggregate. So you can just stick to the outside view if you have no specific degree of confidence in your personal subjective opinion. If, however, you believe that in that case you know something that is not reflected in the statistics, so you say, yeah, but I really love her so much. Yes, but maybe that was true for every single marriage. Or yes, but I believe I'm such a good chef, but that was true for every chef. But maybe sometimes you have something that you believe is not representative, is not reflected in the statistics, something that is not in the statistics. Let's say that, for example, you have already opened 20 restaurants before and they all succeeded. Now that's also kind of an extra outside view. So you will be adding an additional outside view. So you will say, in general, in this country, only 10% of restaurants succeeded. However, my last 20 restaurants succeeded. So this will be kind of an extra outside view. So in this case, you will have two outside views. You will say, then you will bet that the next restaurant is likely to succeed. But let's say that in this case, you don't have this extra outside view, but so let's say you cook food for your friends and everyone say it's delicious, I mean, you would have to know if this is true for everyone, because maybe every other person to open a restaurant had the same experience, that their friend always telling their food is delicious and still 90% failed. But let's say that this is not the case. So you believe that no, actually this is unique to you. So, or that in your case, your food is truly amazing. You have some kind of subjective idea. So what you do is, it's not that you replace the outside view. You try to determine by how much you can adjust the outside view. So for example, if let's say in general, marriages are like 50% chance of divorce, but in this case, let's say you have known the person for many years before. Again, you will have to check how many people have knew the person before on the other marriages. But let's say in general you have some idea. So you shouldn't just remove completely the outside view. You should adjust it. So the idea is start from the outside view, start from the average, start from the aggregate, and then adjust the number based on your subjective view, based on your inside view. So the view you have as an insider, as an individual, that is the person who is going to do the thing. But you cannot replace it. So it's like if, for example, in general, the probability of divorce is 50%, but you believe your case is more unique. Your case is never completely unique, but there is a degree to which it can be unique. So if you determine that your case is somewhat unique, you can play with the numbers. So you can say, well, in general, the probability of divorce will be 50%. But in my case, because of X, Y, Z, the probability is 25%. So half, that's already a lot. You're reducing, or 12.5, you reduce by 4 times. But you should not forget about the outside view and just say, oh, it's 1% or it's 0. You should start with the outside view, and the higher the conviction you have, the more you're going to play with the numbers. So let's say if the chance of a restaurant succeeding is 10%, then if you are very, very confident, you can say, for me, it's going to be 20%, 30%. But you cannot just say, ignore the outside view and say, yeah, I'm very confident. I feel that for me, the chance of my restaurant to succeed is 90%. That will be completely ignoring the outside view, completely ignoring everyone else's experience. So that doesn't make sense. But still, of course, you cannot completely ignore your own experience. That's why we should give some weight to inside view and to outside view. Now, outside view ideally should be the starting point, because usually it comes from a lot of data, and so it's kind of a reliable average or indicator. And then based on the degree of conviction you have in your inside view, you're going to tweak that number. But you always start from the number from the outside view, from the statistic, and then according to how confident you are, you adjust the number upwards or downwards. So if, for example, something on average has only a 1% chance to work, it's not that in your case it's going to be 99%. That's basically impossible. In your case, it can be 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 is already a lot. It's like if the base rate, if the outside view is like 1%, even if you are extremely confident, it will be kind of unreasonable to believe that for you is going to be more than 5%, which is 5 times the base rate, 5 times the outside view. It may be the outside view itself, so the base rate may be 1%, that's the most likely outcome. But if you are very, very confident, you can increase the number to 2%, 3%, 4%, maybe 5%, but you cannot increase it to 80% by completely ignoring the outside view. So I think this is a very good model when you make a decision to try to determine the chances of success that you have. It's not about just looking at the statistics and ignoring completely your subjective view, your inside view, but you shouldn't throw away the statistic either and only follow your gut feeling or your inside view, because then you will just come up with crazy numbers that are completely unrelated to reality. So the best is to combine both, using outside view as the initial starting point, and then making adjustments. So your inside view, you don't use it to produce a number. For that, you use the outside view, the statistic, but then you use your inside view to adjust this number a little bit higher or a little bit lower. This is, I think, the best way to use inside view and outside view.